Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing part 2 of my AMA assumptions video celebrating 500 subscribers. I've already done my assumptions video, which should be up by now, and now we're going to jump into the questions that I was asked. This is probably going to be quite a long video. I will try and get through them relatively quickly. So let's get started. What do you do for a job? I run a tech startup. I've been working in the tech startup space for the past 6 years, and I basically build and run companies. I do everything from managing customer relationships to setting strategy for the company to building operations and process, hiring, culture, all of these different aspects that it takes to build a successful company. I've played very critical roles in building my 2 previous companies and then my current company, and I love it. It's a very intellectually stimulating job to do. I don't really think of it as a job. It's more just something that I love doing, and it's kind of cool. And yeah, it's intense though. I don't recommend doing it if you want work-life balance, that's for sure. How do you achieve your video upload consistency? How much pre-filming do you usually do? Well, I haven't been that consistent recently for reasons that I gave in my update video, but I generally record every weekend. I generally record maybe 3 or 4 videos at a time, especially like reviews, because you can generally post them at any time. I do quite a lot of prep as well beforehand to make sure that my thoughts are on paper. I don't write a script, it's just bullet points, and then I kind of spitball from there. But yeah, I'm hoping to be a lot more consistent and go back to filming more on the weekends, and then scheduling them in advance. On average, how much time do you invest in a typical video, e.g. a book review? Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think with a book review, I generally try to film book reviews straight after I finish the book, or like a couple of days after I finish the book, so that it's freshest in my mind. But those videos, I would say like 10 minutes prep and then like 10 to 15, 20 minutes filming, depending on how long the review is. The ones that take the most amount of prep are actually the tags, because I often do them on my cue cards. So I write them down, and then I actually like to think about the answers that I'm going to give before. Sometimes I change my mind as I'm filming, like my answer to the tag question or prompt, but normally I do prep beforehand. So again, the video isn't too long. What did you expect from Booktube when you started your channel, and have these expectations been met so far? My only expectation really was just to meet a couple of people that really love books, and that has my expectations have completely been shattered in that regard. I've actually made friends from starting my channel, and I think that is really the magic and the beauty of Booktube, and that's why I really love this community, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. Would you rather be a highly intelligent person in an Abercrombie setting or a simple-minded person in a KJ Parker setting? That's a good question. I would pick a highly intelligent person in an Abercrombie setting, because then at least you have a chance of survival. If you're a simple-minded person in KJ Parker, you're basically screwed. Have you ever thought about writing a novel? No, I am writing a memoir right now. I'm maybe writing a couple of 100 words a day. I don't even know if it's something that I will publish. It's really just for me to get a lot of feelings and emotions and reflections out onto paper. But writing a novel, no, I've never really thought about it, but never say never. What are your favorite activities apart from reading? I love playing video games. I love watching sports, especially Formula 1 and tennis and football to a degree. I love working on like little side projects as well. I'm working on 2 side projects at the moment that are just taking my time away from reading, unfortunately, but I'm just so excited about them because it's very intellectually stimulating and I'm learning something new. So yeah, I would say learning something new is also a favorite activity of mine, whatever it may be. Who is your favorite comedian? It's a good question. I would probably say Richard Ayoade. He's a British comedian. He's absolutely hilarious. He's so like dry and deadpan. I love it. The other one is Ricky Gervais. He's fantastic, also very dry and deadpan and very British. I really like Jerry Seinfeld as well. He's got this show on Netflix called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. One of my favorite shows to watch. I love it. I would love to one day be on that, but I'm not a comedian, so it is what it is. What is the most British thing you enjoy doing? Eating scones. Jam first, not cream. What bothers you more than it probably should? Tardiness. I think that is a very good indication of whether somebody respects your time. I really detest it when you're like waiting for a meeting and then the person doesn't tell you that they're going to be late, and they give you zero heads up, and then they rock up 5 minutes late like nothing's happened. I just think it's so rude. It really does grate on me, because it was something that was instilled in me as a child, that you show up on time. You show up early, really, but you always show up on time. And it's really an indication of how much you respect that other person who you're meeting or you're speaking with. It really gets at me. It's like my one gripe that really, really can make me angry. Past, present, or future, which do you spend your time thinking about the most? I would say a couple of years back, very much on the future. I don't think I think about the past that much. The only time when I really think about the past is if something went wrong. And then I think about how, you know, that situation could have been dealt with differently so that I can prevent it happening again. But I very much focus on the present. I very much focus on the now, with the hope that if I focus on the present and the now, it's obviously going to impact the future positively. What has changed the most about you in the last couple of years? I think just my outlook on how I live my life. It sounds very dramatic. But the last, you know, couple of years have been very personally taxing for a number of different reasons that I'm not going to go into. But, you know, I think the number one thing that I've learned is that life is not limitless like we sometimes think. We sometimes think we're quite invincible. And I think the thing that I've really come to terms with is my own mortality, and the fact that I'm not going to be on this planet for that long, to be perfectly honest. Like, I might be here in 50 years, but if you really think about it in the span of the universe, 50 years is barely even a blip on the radar. And I think it just makes me remember what I need to prioritize. And, you know, that's my family, my friends, the relationships that I really care about, the things that I love doing, like Booktube, and also the things that I like doing for myself as well, like working on my little hobbies and stuff like that. Do you speak any foreign languages? And then a second part to this is, which other languages would you love to speak? I speak a little bit of Urdu. I'm from Kashmir originally. I understand it very well. So if you speak to me in Urdu, I will understand everything that you're saying. I can read it decently and I can speak it decently. Like, I can get by. I learned like German and French when I was in school. I know like I can get by like very, very lightly. I wish I'd learned more languages. I'm actually debating learning another language, but I've got quite a lot of other things going on at the moment, so I don't know if it's the best idea. But which other languages would you love to speak? I'd love to speak Italian because it's such a beautiful language. I'd love to speak Arabic. I would love to speak French and Spanish, mainly just because they're spoken by so many people across the world. So I think they would be very useful. Would you say you have unpopular book opinions? And if so, what are they? I don't know if I have unpopular book opinions. I mean, I really don't like YA anymore, but I think that's just because I've evolved in certain ways as a reader, and I think my tastes have just changed a lot. Like, I really like, and if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know this, I really like dark, very like raw worlds, and I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. It's just that my taste has changed. I think the one thing, I really don't like DNFing. I think for me, I'm a completionist. Again, I don't know if I think that's actually quite an unpopular opinion, like to not DNF. But again, more power to you if that's what you like doing. What sort of music do you prefer to listen to? I have a very wide variety of music tastes. I love hip hop, mainly like 90s and early 2000s hip hop, and then I also have a couple of artists that I adore and love today, especially like British rap artists. And then I really like deep house and a little bit of electronic. I love 80s classic rock. I have like a playlist that I was actually listening to this morning. I love 80s rock. Like, it's just the best, like some of the best music out there. And then I love jazz as well. I love like Latin jazz. I have very different music tastes depending on the mood that I'm in or the thing that I want to get done that day. I really love like Afro beats as well. So I think the one consistent thing that I love in all the music that I really enjoy is that I like things with a beat. And honestly, if it's got a good beat, I can get on board. I've seen you talk about fantasy romance in some of your videos, and also that you dislike some of those reads. What makes a good or bad fantasy romance in your opinion? For me, I think it's always just about character development. I think the characters need to be developed by the end of the book. I don't like it when the characters are defined by their counterpart. And I don't like necessarily that the growth is as a result of their counterpart, if that makes sense. Not that meeting people can't change who you are, obviously it can, but I don't like it when it's like they're dependent on each other, and that's something that I really don't like, because it's not a very healthy message to give. And I think the best fantasy romance books that I've read have a good mixture of character development and also a plot. I don't like fantasy romance where there is zero plot. That's why I didn't like Crescent City. There's like very little plot. But then I like other Sarah J Maas books because they actually have plot. So I think, you know, she's an example of obviously a very popular fantasy romance author that I've read quite a lot of. I think I've read all of her books now. And she has some really good fantasy romance, and then she has some really bad fantasy romance. If you had to name one critique about Abercrombie's works, what would it be? That there's not enough of them. I want more. Joe, what are you doing? I've heard you say that you like to travel. Do you have a favourite destination? That's a good question. I think it depends. I love travelling to New York. I was planning to move to the US at the end of this year, but personal circumstances have potentially delayed that a little bit, which is fine. I love traveling to Italy. Italy, I think, is the country that I've traveled to the most. There's so much history packed into Italy. I've traveled to, I think, maybe 7 or 8 different places in Italy now, and I've barely scratched the surface. It's just a beautiful country, beautiful food, wonderful people, and the culture and the history is just so rich. So that is a country that I love traveling to. I love traveling to Spain as well for a very similar reason. So yeah, I would say those are my top 2 for now. What are your thoughts on grim dark? I mean, I love grim dark. I think it's a genre or subgenre that is very underrated, but then I also think it's very much an acquired taste. It's definitely not for everyone. I think for me, you know, I think it's a close reflection of the world that we actually live in. That's not to say that I think that there's like zero hope in the world that we live in and that all we have is like evil people. But I mean, you just look at what is going on in the world today, and it's not that dissimilar to some of the grimdark books that I read. Let's be honest. We're all mood readers in some form or another. Is there an author you can read at any time though? I mean, probably Parker, KJ Parker for sure, Abercrombie. Like my favorite authors, right? Parker, Abercrombie, Dumas. Yeah, that's probably it. Maybe Daniel Abraham. I don't know. I need to read more of his books to validate that. Are you able to give a top 5 or top 10 of your current favorite fantasy authors? Ooh. Well, Joe Abercrombie, KJ Parker. R. Scott Baker, definitely up there. Fantastic author. I'm almost finished with the 3rd book in the Prince of Nothing trilogy, and it's mind-blowing. Terry Pratchett, I would definitely put up there. That's 4. Let's give one more. Oh God, I can't think. Who is another author that I really like? S.A. Chakraborty. She's phenomenal, and I cannot wait to read whatever she writes next. I can't do top 10 because I don't feel like I have enough to go on to give a top 10. What are your thoughts on DNFing books? I said this earlier, I don't like DNFing books. I'm a completionist by nature. Even if that means just like skimming to know what happened at the end. I think it's also like a respect thing. I want to respect the author who wrote the book, even, you know, and that's, I'm not saying that if you DNF, you're disrespecting authors. It's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I'm not a fan. You always seem relaxed and good-humoured in your YouTube videos. Is that simply how you are in general, or is it just my perception? No, I'm pretty chilled and relaxed. I lead a very intense life, but the only way that I can really live that life is by being chilled and good-natured. Don't get me wrong, I have my days where I'm like laser sharp focused, and any bit of noise is like just a distraction. But no, this is the way that you're seeing me right now. This is how I am with everyone at pretty much any given point in time. What's your favorite food dish to eat? So I have a very limited diet at the moment because I have quite a lot of food intolerances. So I like eating salads right now. Oh, it's so sad. I eat a lot of quinoa, which I'm not gonna lie is very sad. But because it's basically like rabbit food. I'm joking. Quinoa is good for me. I need to like go back into remembering why I eat quinoa. No, but outside of like the daily food that I eat, I really, really miss eating pasta. Like pasta is one of my favorite things to eat, but I can't. Even like the gluten-free pasta doesn't work for me anymore, which is really sad. I also really love desserts. Massive sweet tooth right here. I'm trying to eat obviously a lot less, but I love a good dessert. I love like profiteroles. I love banoffee pie, which is very British, I realised. I like tiramisu. Like I just love desserts. They're like totally my thing. I love like Indian food as well. From where I'm from, Kashmiri food is incredible. It's super flavoursome and like, oh, it tastes so good. Do you have any favourite movies? I have quite a few. A lot of like Pixar films are some of my favourites. Toy Story 2 is incredible. Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. I really liked, what was the one with the old man, Up, the old man and the kid. I love that film. So good. The old man reminds me of myself. I've forgotten his name, but he's definitely a kindred spirit. I also love The Last Samurai, Kingdom of Heaven, Jurassic Park, Lord of the Rings, obviously. I've definitely missed like a really big film that I loved, but I can't remember what. Parent Trap is one of my favorite films as well. So yeah, I have a few. There's another one that I'm trying to think of. Captain Fantastic, such a good film. Strongly recommend it. Do English people really say 10 guineas to a bent head pin? I can't speak properly. To a bent head pin. Is Alan a liar? So no, nobody says that. But then again, you know, Alan thinks that we live in like some Dickensian version of the UK. So where, you know, there's factories and there's orphans on the street and street urchins and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that Alan is a liar. I'm just saying that his perception of the reality is different. What was your most life-defining moment? My most life-defining moment was probably when somebody who is very, very close to me got very sick. It changed my whole perception on life and meaning and just also how I live my own life. And yeah, it put into motion, I think, certain things that I'm still living with today. And this was like 6-7 years ago. So it was a while ago, but it fundamentally changed who I am as a person. In a good way. What are some books that have had an impact on you and books from grade school and college that still stick with you? So books that have had an impact on me, I mean, there's loads. I mean, a lot of my favorite books are, there's a reason why they're my favorite books, because they had an impact on me. You know, The Three Musketeers, I've talked about this many times on my channel now, is ultimately a book about friendship and loyalty and honor. And those are things that I really, really cherish and care about. And that's why I love that book so much. For me, you know, Joe Abercrombie's books and KJ Parker's books, I think they give a really interesting insight into human nature and why people do the things that they do. And I love that stuff. I love like psychology and really delving deep into why people do the things that they do. What are some books from grade school and college that still stick with you? Biff and Chip. Total classic. I'm joking. Winnie the Pooh. I think Winnie the Pooh, I was reading some stuff about A.A. Milne and about how each of the characters in Winnie the Pooh represent a different type of, like, not disorder, but I can't think of a better word. So like Eeyore, I think, represents depression. And then someone represents like PTSD. I can't remember. If I remember to link it, I'll link, I'll put a link to the article that I read. But in hindsight, I loved Winnie the Pooh when I was younger. And I think it's quite fascinating that there were so many subliminal messages on the fact that it's okay to, you know, feel those emotions. It still sticks with me, but more just because I realized that recently. What is the best advice you've been given? I think there's two pieces of advice that I've been given. One is one that I gave to myself, which is just don't be an asshole. There is no reason to be rude and mean and horrible to other people. Treat them with respect and treat yourself with respect as well. I think the other one that I was given was from my mother. My mother always told me to be 10 times better than everybody else in the room, because not only am I a female, not only am I an ethnic minority, but, you know, I'm younger than most of the people that I interact with on a daily basis. And she said, you know, you got to be 10 times better than everybody else and it will take you far. And it was very good advice. She gave me that advice when I was pretty young, and it stuck by with me ever since. If you could pick one author's books to read for the rest of your life, who would it be? Guess. I mean, it's got to be KJ Parker or Joe Abercrombie, but I don't know which one I would pick. Which it's slightly terrible because Joe Abercrombie he's not written as many books as KJ Parker, and KJ Parker like just keeps churning them out. So I feel like he would be more consistent. But then Joe Abercrombie's Joe Abercrombie, so I don't know. That's a tough choice, which I'm not going to make. What are some historical figures that you would want to meet if you could time travel and it wouldn't impact events in history? Machiavelli, for sure. Leonardo da Vinci, for sure. Julius Caesar, for sure. Maya Angelou, for sure. There was one other one. Alexandre Dumas, for sure. I feel like there was one more, but I can't remember who it was. Rosa Parks. There we go. Are there any cultures that no longer exist that you'd be interested in experiencing if you could time travel? I would love to meet the Mayans and experience the way that they lived. I had this weird like fascination with the Mayans and the Aztecs actually when I was younger. No idea why. I was just really fascinated in the way that they did things. So that would be pretty cool, I think. I don't think you have any tattoos. Question mark. What do you think about those in general? No, I don't have any tattoos. I think tattoos are cool. I don't like the idea of having something permanent on my skin though, because I don't know, like I don't think there would be anything that I would want to permanently remember, like not permanently remember, but like document on my body, if that makes sense. I think they look really cool. I'm not like against them by any means. I just think on myself, there's nothing that I would want to put on my body. And maybe one day there might be, in which case I might get one, but right now, no. Where did your love of reading come from? Probably from my mum. My mum was a librarian when I was growing up. She read to me a lot. I always used to see her reading books. She used to say that when she was pregnant with me, she used to read to me all the time. So I think that's where it comes from. What are the different places you've traveled and which were your favorites? So I've traveled all over Europe. The good thing about being in the UK is, in Europe in general, it's super easy to get anywhere. It's about like an hour and a half, 2 hours on a flight. So I've been to France, Spain, Italy many times, Greece. I'm definitely missing a couple, but yeah, and the Netherlands, Germany. There's a couple other that I'm just completely blanking on. And then I've traveled to the US a lot. The one place that I haven't really traveled to much is Asia, and I really want to rectify that. And South America, actually. I've not traveled to South America yet. So South America and Asia are definitely on my roadmap to travel to very soon. In terms of where my favorites, I think I mentioned this earlier, Italy is probably one of my favorite places to travel to. Spain as well, and I also like traveling to the US as well. What is your educational background? So I went to high school, which is secondary school in the UK, and then I decided to read philosophy at university with a specific focus on computation. So I did a lot of stuff on artificial general intelligence, robotics, logic. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed my degree. It was a really tough time for me personally, so it was almost like an escape from what was happening at the time. But it was, yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I loved philosophy, and I still read a lot of philosophy today. Okay, so this is the last question. Would you be open to having your own Discord? Maybe. I've not really... a couple of people have asked me. I think my only worry is that it's another thing to manage, and, I've already got quite a lot of things going on. But never say never. I think there's definitely a possibility that it could happen at some point, for sure. All right. That was quite a lot of questions. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If there's any other questions that you want to ask me, please let me know in the comments down below. But I hope this sheds some more insight into, me, my background, what I like, what I dislike, the type of person that I am. Yeah, I never really know how deep to go into these types of videos because I'm generally a very private person. So I hope that gave you enough that you feel like you know me a little bit better if you care to know me a little bit better. And if there's anything that I missed, please just drop it down below. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video, folks. This was fun. I actually really enjoyed it. And maybe I'll do one again in the future. But for now, I will see you until next time. Stay safe, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.